You know, my former colleague Nabil Kareem used to be the best dressed guy at the network, but that honor now goes to my following guest, Jevohn Shepherd. This guy's always put together, and he's our NBA analyst. Look at him. He looks fat. I'm just going to stand there and let you.
You know what? You might be onto something, Jay. You might be onto something.
It's true. It's true. How are you, man?
I'm good. Yourself?
Good to see you. Thunder lose.
Yeah.
We're going to put that aside because they still have the best record in the league.
Yeah, put it on the rug. Yeah.
Our guy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, still the front runner for NBA MVP. And Sam Mitchell pointed this out to me because I said, well, they didn't do anything at the break. And he said, well, they got Chet Holmgren back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like acquiring someone at the deadline. But do you see any holes in this team for the stretch run, or do you like what they have and you think they're going to make it all the way to the finals?
I love what they have. I think what they have going for them is continuity and chemistry and strength. And when you look at it, a number of the teams in the West made some big changes. What OKC did was build on, their team from last year. They had an early second-round exit in the playoffs. And for them, I think this has got to be a boxing match, right? You got to jab the 82-game regular season, and then you go into the playoffs. And that's how you measure OKC, by their postseason play. Not in the regular season, right? SGA, you look at his individual numbers, there's nothing more that he can do there. Right, but can he continue to make his teammates better, right? And he's got an all-star, first-time all-star in Jalen Williams, and I think that's also something where you tip your hat to SGA because he made his teammates better. He made Jay Will better, right? Brought that out of him, and they're also 8 games better at this point now than they were last year, right? Going into the all-star break, so they've taken the right strides. They've made the right moves. Yes, now they've gotten Chet back. They've gotten Hartenstein back. In the last, 30 games of the regular season, the big thing for them is how do you integrate those guys, and how do you play with those guys as well? It's easy to say, they're back into the lineup. Defensively, you're going to be better, and offensively, you have more size. But OKC has played some really good basketball playing small ball. Right now, okay, you have Chet back. You have Hartenstein back. That's going to change your offense a bit because those guys in the paint, the lane is not as open, right? There's not as much of that 5-out offense where guys are just penetrating, collapsing the defense, and kicking out. There's more traffic defensively. So there are some things that you have to adjust to. But in terms of their expectation right now and where they are right now, they're better than they were last year. But your measure for them is in the postseason.
And we talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a lot, and justifiably so. And I wonder if Jamal Murray heard about that and said, I'm just going to go score 55 points this week and retake the record for the most points ever scored by a Canadian in an NBA game. 55 points. So I'm going to give you the floor. Maybe we haven't been talking about Jamal Murray enough this season?
I think Jamal always has those moments where he comes up in the season and he's like, hold on, wait a minute. Don't forget about me now. I'm still here. And you look at how he got those 55, and you can actually understand it, why sometimes you forget about him, because it's his diet. His shot diet is heavily jump shots. And it's hard for a guy over a course of a season to just knock down jump shot after jump shot after jump shot. There's nagging injuries, there's fatigue, and a lot of that is your legs getting under you. And it's hard for him. And that's a big part of why he hasn't been an all-star as well, because the consistency level isn't always there. And that's the difference between him and SGA. But what he did right there, if he's able to emulate that and repeat that down the stretch of the season, I think that team can still be a championship contender out the West because they have championship pedigree. I think Jamal Murray also has to be laser focused going down the stretch as well. And he does have it in him, right? I'll give you an example. When he was 17, I believe it was 17 years old, I went back to Michigan to visit, and he was there on an unofficial visit. At that time, these young guys it's a social media era, and they asked me to speak to him and just stay, kind of mentor him for a little bit, and wanted him to come to the school, which he didn't end up going. He ended up going to Kentucky. But we had a conversation, and then I was going to exchange numbers, and he didn't even have a phone at that time.
Right.
He said, I'm really focused on basketball, laser focused on basketball, but I have this, I believe it was like iPods, not iPods at the time. We played music on them. I don't remember what it was. But here's my email. Can you take my email and we'll stay in contact?
Amazing.
But for a guy at that age, that young, to just not have social media, not have a phone, and be that laser focused on basketball is a big part of the reason why he's the player he is today. So if he continues to have that focus again, that Denver team can be right back in
I was thinking of the story we did, him and his dad shooting hoops in Kitchener, and, whether it was snowing or raining or whatever, they were out there shooting hoops just no matter what. Okay, let's keep talking about Canadian basketball players. This one isn't as flattering, though. of course, Toronto loses to Cleveland on Wednesday night. And Tristan Thompson, Brampton, Ontario zone, decides to dunk the ball at the end of the game with the Cavs up by 21 points. Not cool. And Darko Rajakovic called him out afterwards, said, I think what Tristan did was no class and disrespectful. And this is what Tristan Thompson responded to Coach Rajakovic on X on Thursday. Bless up, stay warm in my city. Everyone pointing out that Toronto's not actually a city. Brampton is, and those are different cities. But that's not important to talk about right now. It seems like Tristan Thompson broke an unwritten rule in the NBA that everybody knows about. Are you surprised that he chose to come back so hard at Darko on social media?
I was a little surprised. It was a little bit aggressive. It was a little bit cryptic, but I'm going to leave that there. But you mentioned the unwritten rule. I think there's also some fine print on that unwritten rule that we often forget. Right, Tristan Thompson decides to go to the basket. And this goes for any other player. Like, Tristan's my guy. We've played together with the national team, so this is not anything specific to him. But if he decides at the end of the game in a blowout that he's going to disrespect the other team, there was three Raptors jerseys around him, right? Somebody needed to put him on the floor so the next time he thinks about it. Right? So I respect Jamal Shepherd for stepping up later, but the other guys that were around there, like, that's an opportunity where, hey, maybe we take from this and we learn we got to be more militant for 48 minutes. It doesn't matter what the score is. Do I agree with Tristan's decision as a veteran, and having probably supposed to have a bit more etiquette there? No. And Coach Darko, I mean, he was asked a question. He answered it accordingly. But we're also protected his team, which I support as well. We're also in an era, in a time where we're so accustomed to seeing guys jersey swap and smile and, have fun after they lose, that when we see little scuffles like this, it becomes a big ordeal.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, I don't like you, you don't like me, we're opposing teams. That is absolutely fine. That's actually good for the sport, good for the game. And I think probably we invest a little bit too much into that because they're not on the same team. They're not supposed to like one another.
Fair.
And that's absolutely fine. I have big respect for Jamal Shepherd because the smallest guy on the floor, the rookie, he stood up for his teammates and stood up for his team. And like, what is this about? And, Tristan's comments suggesting that you're pressing with 3 minutes left in the game. Well, if you look at the two units that were on the floor, there's no garbage time for those units, right? For the Raptors, those are young guys that are vying for more minutes, vying for positions.
Yeah.
You look at Tristan's side, similar, right? So they got to play it out.
But Tristan should know that, right? He knows those players who are coming out. He knows that's why they're on the floor.
And that's why I'm surprised at his messaging after. It's a little confusing there.
Not very Canadian of him. How are you feeling about the All-Star game?
Should be fun. Got it. Should be an up-and-down race.
Yeah, we got it coming up on TSN. It's going to be 4 teams. The format is kind of unique this year.
Different.
No Raptors this year, but how's this for a trio? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will play on the same team as Nikola Jokic and Victor Wembanyama. The 3 front-runners. Oh, no, Victor Wembanyama's not a front-runner for MVP. The NBA All-Star Game, like every other All-Star game in sports, is the most important game of the season this Sunday, 6 Eastern.